Hello there. This is Rebecca at Spoonfed No More. Saturday morning. I went to bed pretty late for me, and I woke up pretty early because of George, the cat. He just like steps on my face while I sleep, and like pokes at my face with his paw, and he'll do that for hours till I actually get up. So usually I just put the blanket over my head and I don't let him, and then, but yeah. Yeah. Anyway, he woke me. Oh, speak of the devil. Hey, George. Um, who said good morning? Good morning, Evelyn. Nice to see you. I'm not actually sleepyhead. I feel pretty well rested. Just move this. Come on up, George. Good morning. Hey, George. So I bought some hemp milk, and good morning, Maggie. I bought some hemp milk, and this is my second time trying it in my coffee, and I'm not too sure how I feel about it. It has like a nutty, earthy taste, which is good, but I find like it takes away from the bitterness of the coffee, which I really like too. Morning, Evie. Thanks for the hug. Yeah, thanks for stopping by, even though you can't stay. Oh, Will, I do not have my passport sorted yet, and I haven't booked my flight to London yet. Um, I gotta get this figured out. I gotta get this figured out. I work every weekday morning, and so I can't go to the passport office. I guess I should probably plan for it and like get a morning off, but I can't really because I work with kids, and I don't want to like let them down or have them be alone when they're used to having someone there. I prefer almond milk too, but yes, Maggie, please remind me daily. I prefer almond milk too, but for pardon me, for a recipe I bought hemp milk, so I'm using it. Have a good one, Evie. Okay, so something. This is something I've been wanting to talk about for like a couple weeks now, or maybe a week or so. Pardon me, which is what it's like to mourn the living. I find we're kind of like put in an awkward situation, being shunned by family members, friends, loved ones, and sorry, there's definitely a cat fur in my mouth. And it's awkward because it hurts. I can't even say it hurts as though they're dead because I don't know what it would feel like if they were actually dead. But but I feel like there's no I don't know how to explain this. Maybe you guys can help me out here. I feel like it hurts as though the loved one is dead, but you can't really be open about it and you can't really feel it fully because the person's still alive. So it's not like you can go around and like fully mourn them because there's still somewhat of a chance like you could bump into them on the street, but you've already like prepared your heart for the fact that the person's dead. I don't know how to explain it. Anyone jump in here and help me out here? Have we seen the Twitter feed on the Leia Remini? Yeah, so exciting. Uh, yeah, super exciting. I haven't actually seen the full Twitter feed. I've just seen screenshots on Facebook because I don't have Twitter. But I find it really cool that Leia Remini is kind of jumping to our defense. And I love that she pulled something out of the Shepherd, the Flock of God book, which is the Elder's Secret Manual. Sorry, I'm petting George down here. She'll bring him up. So, hey, George. So, it's heartbreakingly painful knowing that our loved ones choose to kick us to the curb because we think differently. That's from Laylee Brooks. You know what? It is heartbreakingly painful, but at the same time, they're brainwashed to think that if we don't go back, we die, and the only way we go back is if they shun us. You know, they're they're brainwashed to believe that it's the most loving thing to do. So I can kind of forgive them for that. It's painful and it sucks, but I don't hold any of my family. I don't hold it against anybody. Exactly, we're already dead to them. Yeah, And Will says, she really taking the bull by the horns, and I think this will open a real can of worms. Oh, you're talking about Leia Remini. That's totally cool. I definitely want to talk about Leia Remini, but I also want to talk about what I'm talking about right now. Evelyn de Lombre. Evelyn, are you French, or do you just have a French last name? And if you're not French, do you know what your last name means? Uh, is that even your last name? I don't know. Whatever. And the horrible thing about people who treat us like we're dead, when worldly people ask us about them and don't understand, they think we can just get back in contact. Yeah, exactly. That's the tough part. It's hard to talk to, worldly people or people who are never Jehovah's Witnesses about it, because they're like, oh, well, maybe they have family members who are dead, and English, and it's a pseudonym. Okay. But do you know what it means, Evelyn? Do you know what it... Oh, of the shadow. Yeah, you know what it means. Okay, cool. um, yeah, I don't know, it's tough to explain to people who... The biggest response I get when I tell people I'm being shunned is like, oh, don't worry, it's your mom. She'll come around. Or like, oh, they'll come around. Don't worry, give it time. Da 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 da. And it's like, well, if I was in their position and one of them left, it wouldn't matter how much time passed. Probably I would shun them. When I was in, I was like hardcore brainwashed. I followed everything like well. Anyway, Dawn Elizabeth says, "Hi, Alpha," and I'm wondering why. Oh, you're not calling me Alpha. You're saying hi to Alpha. Okay. Yeah. Sorry, I think there's something else here that I missed. The biggest lie perpetuated is that apostates are mentally diseased. Well, do you mean the biggest lie about apostates or the biggest lie in the organization? Because I think the biggest lie in the organization is the date of the fall of Jerusalem. Is that it? The fall of Jerusalem? Right? It was in 587 BCE instead of 607 BCE, and then from the 607 BCE they got the 1914 date, which all of their like prophecies and rules are based on this 1914 date. So with that like historical date being wrong, being 20 years off, then their prophetic date is wrong entirely. And I think that's the biggest lie. When I read that, I was shocked. Yeah, the destruction of Jerusalem. Their entire doctrine is based on. I think that's the biggest lie. Hey, the Unreluctant. Okay, let's go. The Unreluctant says, the issue with the shunning is that the hurt is actually a two-way street. However, one side of the street chooses to carry it out from the wishes of other men. Thus, the hurt is felt. Thus, the hurt is felt deeply as they wrangle with carrying this out for 8 men. So you're referring to the governing body who makes all the rules for Jehovah's Witnesses, and shunning is painful because you both love each other, you both would be happy to be in each other's lives to an extent, like you get along with each other. For me, I have some family members that live pretty close. You live really close to each other. It's tragic. It's really tragic in a way because both people are hurt and both people are unhappy, and they don't they don't know that they're doing it for the 8 men. They think that they're doing it for us. Okay, Will McAllister says, do you want to know what Will McAllister says? Will McAllister says, I think being shunned in a way is worse than being disfellowshipped on their 3-tier system of the shunning mindset. Will, I don't know what you're talking about, 3-tier system of the shunning mindset. Are you talking about, okay, I think I know what you're talking about. Interesting, I never thought of it that way. So you can be shunned for just simply not going to meetings anymore and being faded. You can be shunned for being disfellowshipped, which means you broke a rule and they kick you out. And you can be shunned for being disassociated, which means you walk away and you decide, not my religion anymore. Really, really interesting way of putting it. I didn't think of it that way. So you think being shunned is worse than being disfellowshipped. What do you mean? Do you mean the disassociation shunned or the fading shunned? I've never experienced the fading shunned, but I experienced disfellowshipping shunned for a year, which was horrible because you believe all the doctrine and you believe that, like you're the scum of the earth, pretty much. And I think disfellowshipping shunning was way worse than disassociation shunning. This I can handle. This I can tolerate. This was my choice. When I was disfellowshipped, all I wanted was to be a perfect little Jehovah's Witness, and it was that was the most like painful year of my life. That was horrible. Okay. Harry Hugot says, the most disturbing part of the organization, in my opinion, is Stephen Lett's facial expressions. Oh, I guess goats never lie. Dawn Elizabeth says there's no reason to shun. Well, there's no reason to shun on like a logical human level. It's like, I like this person, I want this person in my life, I'm gonna have them in my life. In that sense, there's no reason to shun. But when you're being brainwashed, it's easy to believe there are reasons to shun. I don't know, because they give it multiple layers. It's you want to keep the congregation clean, so you shun the person. You want to make sure your faith and your spirituality is strong, and the other person's not like tearing that down, so you shun the person. You want to make sure that the person actually comes back to Jehovah and survives Armageddon, and you want them to miss you enough to come back, so you shun the person. I think those are the three main reasons they're taught to shun. And so it's interesting they have like all three of them intertwined, because if you can logic your way out of one of them, there's still the other two to back it up. And I feel like they do that on purpose. If the emotional aspect gets too strong, there's the religious aspect to take over. And I think that's what ties people down to it, and that's what like kind of circumvents the logic of, and the pain even, because if you can rationalize your decision and it makes sense to you, then your decision becomes less painful because you're okay with it. And so they give them ways, in weird ways, to rationalize it and make them okay with it. And in their minds, it's the only option. Shunning, I mean. And, hey. Sorry. Alpha, why do you think I don't like you? I don't really know you, but I'm sure I like you. Alright, Black Sheep the Unwitnessed says, to the generation that will never pass away, may they rest in peace. So, Black Sheep the Unwitnessed is referring to Jehovah's Witnesses prior to 1975, because they were told Armageddon's coming in 1975, it's going to be the end, then we're going to be in paradise, most of you will actually go to heaven, don't get a good job, don't go to school, sell your house, spend all your time preaching, Armageddon's coming in 1 year, Armageddon's coming, like they were given a specific date, and they were told millions now living will never die, and they gave up everything, they ruined their lives, basically, gave up their ambitions, gave up their financial security, all of that for, a date that never happened. And so, yes, may they rest in peace. Good morning, Paradise Lost. I love it. I love this back and forth. It's really, really fun. As in, like, reading your comments or whatever and responding to them. It's an interesting format. It's more fun than me just sitting here talking by myself. Alright, Evelyn of the Shadow says, my best friend shunned me until she died, refused my request to come and see her on her deathbed. I wasn't disfellowshipped, just faded inactive for 20 years. That's horrible. Okay, so that's another thing I wanted to talk about, is that, mourning someone who's alive, who's shunning you, for me personally, it feels like preparing for battle. Like, I know at some point I might have to mourn them when they're actually dead, and it just feels like preparing for battle. It's like, because it's not just one person too. Like, a lot of people who experience the heartache of mourning a dead loved one, it's one at a time, maybe two at a time, I don't know, but not every single person you love and have close to you in your life, bam, like, drop of a dime, every single one of them cuts you off, you're dead to them. How do you prepare yourself for that? And then there's the notion of like, well, I might pass one of them on the street and they're gonna ignore me, and I might, like I might get a phone call one day that someone's dead and I'm gonna have to go to a funeral, and then at the funeral I'm gonna see all these other people who are already shunning me, and then how many funerals will there be, and you just don't know. So in that sense, I feel like I'm preparing myself for battle, like stealing my heart up, because I feel like there's going to be some really difficult times ahead in terms of having to face these people that I'm mourning, that are shunning me. I don't know how to explain it. Can you guys relate? Okay, moving on. Jokic says, well, there's much information, but it is slander since the time of Ray France, Ed Dunlap, Mays, etc., to discredit people who ask questions and see interpretations of the Bible at a different angle. So what Jokic here is saying, I do believe, is that Ray France was the member, was the member of the governing body who left, walked away, and he's the one who wrote Crisis of Conscience and da 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 da. So what he's saying is, since that happened, they've really shut down the doors in terms of, it was after Ray France left, they decided that you shun the people who leave too. Before that, it was you only shun the people who are disfellowshipped. I mean, correct me if I'm wrong. I'm pretty sure I'm right though. Before that, it was you only shun the people who are disfellowshipped. If people walked away, they could leave the religion freely as they wished, and there weren't really any repercussions to it. But when Ray France left, a member of the governing body, they didn't want people to talk to him. They were afraid that he would spill the beans on everything. So then they made the rule, oh, if you're disassociated, you gotta get shunned too. Lisa Bug Showalter, good morning to you too. Maggie, you tried to be a perfect Jehovah's Witness too. It's tough. It's tough. You know that like perfection is expected of you, and you know you can't attain it, but you don't want to upset people. You just want to be good. I don't know. Evelyn Delhomme says Stephen Lett is hilarious. Stephen Lett is hilarious. If you're watching this and you have no idea who Stephen Lett is, let me just spell it out for you. Stephen space Lett. Google it and just look at his face. Like watch a video of him talking. He's not talking to children. He's talking to adults, and I think that's just his face. I don't know. I'm not too sure. Dawn Elizabeth, I was disfellowshipped for 2 years both times. Okay, Dawn, you were disfellowshipped for 2 years and twice. What was the time in between, like, when you were reinstated the first time and then disfellowshipped the second time? What made you go back the first time? And when you were disfellowshipped the second time, did you leave for good, or did you go back again? Paradise Lost says, Let is a clown. He really looks like a clown. If we put clown makeup on his face, it'd be pretty entertaining. Okay. Gregory Sajus says, funny enough, I've experienced both. Some friends abruptly cut ties, but some stayed the course, hoping to draw me back in. 10 years later, some seem to be letting me go now. So you have Jehovah's Witness friends who still talk to you for 10 years after you left? That's crazy. Were you like a clear apostate though? Or did you kind of like, I don't know. Because for me, like, no one will talk to me. I've tried like reaching out to people, but I think because I'm such an apostate, they won't talk to me. I also can't like have a conversation with them without bringing some like apostate information out, because it's stupid at this point. Like it's these are facts that can't be denied, and if you just look at these facts that can't be denied, you'll see that your religion is false. So like just listen for like a split second and it'll all be clear. But nah, and that's about the time when they stop talking to me, so I kind of get that. But yeah. Okay. The Unreluctant says, the video of the disfellowshipped / disassociated 90-year-old nearly blind granny calling out to see her granddaughters one last time so she could keep a memory before she lost her sight or died summed up shunning in 2 minutes. Is this a video released by the organization? I've never seen or heard of this before. Is it a video they put out to show people that they have to shun in any situation, even when an old lady's about to go blind or die? Or is it a video made by an ex-Jehovah's Witness to showcase how bad shunning can get? curious. Evelyn, I'm ashamed of how I shunned people when I was in the org. Yeah, I was a kid, but like my aunt, she was shunned but for 7 years. And I just remember thinking it was so weird when we were allowed to talk to her again. Uh, I mean, other than her, there aren't many people that I shunned. There were, what I feel guilty about and ashamed about is the people who, who weren't necessarily spiritually strong, and so this person isn't disfellowship. They're going to meetings. They go to meetings like what 2-3 times a week, and yet people still won't talk to them because they're not like the perfect Jehovah's Witness. There's the 3 tiers of shunning, and there's also like a little gray area of active Jehovah's Witnesses who are looked down on by every other Jehovah's Witness because they're not a pioneer, because maybe they're not baptized, or something silly like that. They won't shave their beard, whatever it is. I think that's what I feel the most guilty about, is like I would look down on those people too and maybe not talk to them. But I mean, I thought it was for my own safety. So there's not much. That's why you can't blame your family members who are shunning you. You would have done the same thing. Yeah, kudos to you, Dawn, for being disfellowshipped twice. That's crazy. I'm curious, like, what it's like to be disfellowshipped and go back, and then disfellowshipped and then go back again. Like, I did the reinstatement process once, and it was horrible. Can't imagine doing it twice. Jokic. Stephen Lett has a stuttering problem, and I believe the facial expressions come from controlling the stutter. I don't know about that. Find me other people who have a stuttering problem and make facial expressions like him in order to correct it, and then maybe I'll believe it, but his faces are so exaggerated. I don't know about that. I think he's putting on a show for the camera because he's talking to a crowd of sheep and he knows it. Dawn Elizabeth, I have a stuttering problem too, since the age of 10. Yeah, that happens. Mr. KW, first time watching. Hi from London. Hey, Mr. KW, thanks for watching. I hope you're having really great coffee. Okay, Will McAllister. I don't know how many, because I'm like scrolling through the chat, so I don't know how much farther down it goes, because I think I'm behind. Will McAllister says, yep, it's an assumed shunning where they guess what you may have done in fading. Being disfellowshipped or disassociated is the result of an action by the individual, and some may be aware of what's happened. That's a little jumbled. It's an assumed shunning, or maybe I'm just losing track of what exactly you're talking about. Are you just talking about the 3 tiers of shunning? I think that's it. Result of an action by an individual. That's the thing too, is it's always, it's the person's fault. The person did something bad. And everything is usually hush-hush, but there's also a lot of gossip. So it's either like everyone knows and no one will say it out loud, and you know that everyone knows what you did. Yeah. Or like it's hush-hush, but you know the person did something, so you keep your distance. Lisa Bug Showalter, this beat's going in service anytime. It's Saturday morning, it's true. A couple years ago, we would have all been preaching door to door right now. Actually, I would have been at Tim Hortons by now. It's already break time. Alpha Omega, I have been following you for a couple of months. That's awesome. Thank you. Are you saying that because I said I didn't know you? I still don't know you, but I'm not good at knowing people, so thanks for following me. Ooh, Paradise Lost. My family sold everything and my toys. Are you talking about pre-1975 when they thought Armageddon was coming? That's so sad. They sold your toys? What happened after 1975? So curious. Okay, more about Stephen Lett. I guess we're going to talk about him all morning. Lisa Bug Showalter says, I understand that Lett's parents were deaf, so he may have picked up his radical facial expression gestures. That makes a lot of sense. That makes the most sense out of anything. That I won't make fun of. King of Faders, hey guys, hey King of Faders, good morning. And Will Let is a modern day masterpiece. Yeah, he's a real character. He'd make a good game show host. I think I need to refill on coffee. Black Sheep the Unwitnessed says, yep, pre-75 was nuts. Glad I missed the Harmageddon date. Are you saying that you were not a witness pre-75? Or are you saying the opposite? I can't quite tell. Oh, Maggie! Maggie says, oh, I'm gonna cry just reading it. That's so sad. I can't, She says, I keep checking obituaries to make sure my mother is still alive. It's not the first time I've read that. In ex-Jehovah's Witness groups, I've read people say that they Google family members to make sure they're alive, and sometimes they Google them and find out that it's been months that they've been dead. When it gets to the point that you're so dead to your family that they won't even call you if one of them dies, how do you even deal with that? At that point, do you already mourn them fully? Do you, like, close it off and let go and you just, the person is dead already? What do? You're already dead to them. Or do you allow yourself to feel the pain of missing them and, like, feeling the hope that maybe one day they'll come around? I don't know. That's a big thing that I'm trying to decide. I feel like I still have, I don't know. Alpha Omega, you and a lot of apostate family. I'm Portuguese, but I live in Australia. Well, hello from Australia. Mr. KW, you're faded and you're shunned. And it's interesting too, because there are some people who fade and they don't get shunned, and some people who fade and it's immediate, you get shunned. Curious. I feel like it would have to do with your attitude or like the way you talk about it. Like if you sound like an apostate, I don't know. I'm not sure. Ooh, and more about Stephen Lett, I think. Will McAllister says he would win top prize in the UK Gurning Championships. I have never read that word before or heard it. Gurning. What does that mean? Gurning. Gurning. The apostate family. My worldly cousin said she needed to call me ASAP, and my first thought was my mother died. That's not okay. Yeah, my only, like, contact to the rest of the family, pretty much, well, I have one sister, but we don't talk that much, but the person who talks to me most is my dad. So when he calls, I get a little, I get a knot in my stomach, because, yeah, it's interesting. When I was little, I would cry myself to sleep thinking of these, like, crazy scenarios where my whole family died except for me. So I would imagine them going on a plane and it crashing and all of them being dead. I would imagine them being in the car and me being home alone and the car crashing and them being dead. And that was always the scenario. I was a pretty young kid, and I would cry about it like it was real. It's really bizarre. Dawn, I wish I faded. I kind of wish I faded too. I mean, I kind of did fade, and then the elders pressured me to disassociate. They kept calling me, and they were like, come sit down with us, have a judicial committee, and I was like, no, just announce me as disassociated and leave me alone. And they're like, well, you need to give a letter. And I was like, I don't remember what happened. I think they considered my text message a letter. I don't remember. But anyway. So, but even before it was official, I still was being shunned by my family. Paradise Lost says, Gurning. Okay, Evelyn, what does gurning mean? Tell me. Paradise Lost says, Maggie, I wouldn't know if my mom had died. Yeah. That's my fear too, that it's going to get to a point where they just stop thinking about me. Like, they wouldn't even think about me to call me if one of them died. I don't know. I mean, it's like that for some of you guys. I'm wondering, how long have you been out that you say how long have you not been a Jehovah's Witness that it's at the point where you wouldn't know if your mom had died? Okay, Gregory Sajou says, wondering if mourning is the appropriate word. There's still a chance that they wake up as well. I personally firmly cling to that hope. Well, that's exactly why I chose the word mourning, because mourning goes with death, but you're mourning the living. So it's a deep, deep, deep loss. But the thing with mourning is it's usually a permanent loss, and you're saying it's not appropriate because to you it doesn't feel permanent. That's my big debate. Do you allow yourself to let it feel permanent and lose hope? Or do you keep hope? I feel like by keeping hope, it's more painful almost. Because you're constantly like wishing and wishing and wishing, and you don't get any closure. Whereas if you kind of let go and allow yourself to mourn, you kind of get some closure. And then if they do come around, well, that would just be incredible. But you don't live expecting them to come around. I'm at a point now where I'm trying to figure out which way to go. I'm finding it like too heavy a burden to carry the hope that any of them will wake up. But at the same time, I don't want to let go of that hope and like completely let go 100%. So that's exactly what I want to talk about. Just people talking about whether or not they know if their family members died. What a great thing to talk about Saturday morning. Sorry I picked such a dark subject. It's just been on my mind lately. Paradise Lost. It would be easier if she was dead. That's the thing. It would be easier if... I mean, I feel like that's what they do to us. I feel like in their minds... In their minds, we're dead. And it makes it okay for them. They just assume, because they believe Armageddon's coming any day, and if Armageddon comes any day, we're not witnesses, we're dead, we're actually dead. So we're essentially already dead. And I think they hold out hope for us coming back, but I think they kill us off in their minds way quicker than we kill them off in our minds, and I'm not sure how that works or whether or not that's healthy or what we're supposed to do about it. Because it would be easier if they were dead in a way. Actually, when I left, my brother-in-law told me that it was worse than if I had committed suicide. Will McAllister, was the live link dropped? I don't know. Can someone go on my Facebook and put the link in the comments of the post I made, please? Because I wanted to do it, but I don't know how to get the link before I actually start the live stream. I don't know. Is that even possible? It must be. Are you still talking about Stephen Lett? They're still talking about Stephen Lett. King of Vader says, Google it and just look at his face. It's true. Black Sheep the Unwitnessed says, Stephen Lett is a clown. He goofs. No clown makeup for Lett. He's scary enough as he is. That's the thing, his expressions are so intense. He doesn't even need clown makeup. But I definitely need more coffee. I'll be back in 30 seconds. It was only half empty, but it was getting cold, so I wanted a refresher. Okay, where are we at here? Where are we at? Dawn Elizabeth says there was a long intermission between the first and the second time. You're referring to the 2 times you were disfellowshipped. Huh. Did you get reinstated after the second time, or are you like still disfellowshipped now from that time? I'm curious about that. I'm curious if you went through the reinstatement process twice. Maggie's going to work. Love you, Maggie. Thanks for stopping by. Have fun at work. Lisa Bug Showalter says, facts don't care about feelings. Yeah, that's the thing. The Jehovah's Witness teachings really make Jehovah's Witnesses look at shunning pretty coldly, I would say, where it's, facts, not feelings. This is not my second cup of coffee. When I started the video, it was my first cup of coffee. I drank like half of it, and I just topped it off to give it some heat. The Unreluctant. No, the video of Granny's on YouTube. I will get you the title of it from YouTube so you can watch live. I don't really know what you mean. Um, uh, I get that it's on YouTube. Was it produced by Jehovah's Witnesses or was it produced by an ex-witness? That's what I'm curious about. Made by an old lady begging for her family to contact her. Very sad. Okay, so it wasn't produced by witnesses. I'm asking because they have the elder training videos where they kind of do some like, I don't know. I've only watched one, the suicide one, but I know there are a couple floating about. So I was wondering if it was like a one of those or maybe a convention video, but I didn't remember ever seeing that. Alright, Lisa says, my sister was disfellowshipped for 38 years and I never shunned her, although now she's back to the Borg and shuns me. No, you're kidding. She was disfellowshipped for 38 years. How many of those 38 years were you an active witness? And were you the only one who didn't shun her? And did you get in trouble for not shunning her? Oh, this is a very interesting situation to me. Black Sheep says, but they can just deny the facts and say, where would we go? I don't really know what you mean. Who can deny the facts? Jehovah's Witnesses and say, where would we go? It's the where would we go part that I don't really get, if you could clarify. Okay, Tim, this should be interesting. I sat in the hall when they announced I was disassociated. I wrote the elders a letter telling them I no longer wanted to be a Jehovah's Witness. The elders told me they didn't even read it. What assholes. I wish I wrote like a really great letter when I disassociated. I sat in the hall when I was disfellowshipped. Why did you sit there when you were disassociated? And like, did people look at you or did you just walk out immediate shunning? Well, I know when I was announced disfellowshipped, I just like burst out crying and walked out. But I'm curious why you would go if you're announcing your disassociation. That's a little different. Interesting. That's what I love about. I mean, I find it fascinating. All the Jehovah's Witness rules and the loopholes in the rules make for such a variety of experiences that we've had as ex-Jehovah's Witnesses. We've all had such unique experiences in the organization, and if you were to look at everyone's, they all kind of like intermingle together, as in like, you know, this happened to me but that didn't, well that happened to me but that didn't, well that happened to me but that didn't, and it becomes like a weird net of different types of like abuses that a person could go through. I just find it like what's crazy to me is that like headquarters, head Bethel, whatever you want to call it, they're aware of all these things. They get letters and phone calls. They know that all this stuff goes down, and it's like I can sit here and read a few of your stories and it makes me want to cry, not just because I've been through it, but because I have like human compassion, and you know, I can just see that's a situation that would be painful if I were to experience it. Don't these men sit there and think that even for a second, that if they were to experience what we experience, how painful it would be for them? Or do they just not even give it a second thought? Alright, Gregory says, yeah, no, I wasn't a clear apostate. Pardon me. I never pushed my doubts on them. Direct confrontation generally makes them flee, as I did when I was in. I think the subtle approach generally works better. I mean, I can't say I've had enough conversations with Jehovah's Witnesses to vouch whether or not like the direct approach is better or not. I know most people say that, like, you know, go subtle, ease into it, maybe you can change their minds, whatever. Which I get. As for me, like with what's the word? Like on an integrity level, I can't not talk about it. Whether I'm standing in front of a person who was never a witness, whether I'm standing in front of a witness who's shunning me, or a witness I'm crossing on the street, or a stranger who's asking me questions, it doesn't matter. I can't not talk about it because it's so scandalous and is hurting so many people that me keeping quiet about it for a second makes me as guilty as them. If I have the knowledge and I don't say it, I'm just as guilty as they are. I can't shut up about it. And I've lost people who aren't witnesses because I won't shut up about it. But I mean, hey, if my voice is heard by like one single person on the planet, fantastic. Okay. Evelyn Delombre says, the judgment that we all made about why people were disfellowshipped, so much judgment from us who were supposedly strong. Yes, Jehovah's Witnesses love gossip. Love it. Ooh, there's gonna be a special announcement. You're sad that the person's disfellowshipped, but a part of you is really excited because something fun happened at the Tuesday night meeting and it's 9 p.m. and the meeting was really boring and you just want to go home. But ooh, how exciting! There's an announcement and then everyone whispers after and it's all kind of sick. Uh, How Paulo says, unfortunately I knew well about these castes during the 6 years I was in the Borg. When you say caste, are you referring to, what is it, Hinduism, where they have castes, which is like different levels of hierarchy, pretty much? Is that it? I don't know. But yeah, there's definitely, you were in the organization 6 years. Does that mean you got in as an adult and left as an adult? I'd be curious to hear a little bit about your story. Alright, Dawn is going to answer some of my questions here. After the second time, I came in long enough to disassociate. I got sick and tired of them accepting a family who happens to be felons. And no, I don't mean child molestation. Okay, interesting. So you did get yourself reinstated twice, and then you disassociated yourself. Huh. Was the reinstatement process more difficult the second time? Because I feel like they make it longer the more times you're disfellowshipped because they don't trust you. I mean, that was my experience in my congregation with other people. If they had been disfellowshipped like 2 or 3 times, it would take them a really long time to get reinstated. Okay, the unreluctant. Type into YouTube, Grandma pleads with Jehovah's Witness granddaughter. I will do that later, but clearly I'm busy at the moment. But thanks for finding the title for me. Alright, see ya, Alpha. Someone needs to calm his eyebrows. Are you talking about Stephen Lett still? Yeah, Lett's eyebrows are possessed. We're still talking about Lett. I don't feel bad making fun of Lett. He made fun of molestation. King of Faders. What are you talking about? When did he make fun of molestation? I feel like he seems like, maybe it's just because of his face, but he seems like a naive man. Like he doesn't know much about much. Could be wrong. Maybe it's just his face. I don't know. Let eyebrows possess. Okay. I've never talked about Stephen Lett so much. Okay. I put my doubts of 1914 dogma aside, thinking this stuff was okay when it wasn't. I think Stephen has dementia. I don't think Stephen has dementia. Imagine he has dementia and they just like put him in front of the camera for a good show. Like 3 out of the 4 governing body members are, not all there mentally, and then the other ones just have them on the board so they can like control their vote. Sure, we could come up with all kinds of conspiracies. Yeah, Lisa, cartoons and sugary cereals for everyone, because we're not in service. Hi to all UK participants, says Will. Well, I guess I'm not going to say hi back then, because I'm not in the UK. Okay, Paradise Lost. So, you started over but stayed with the organization after 1975. So your parents sold everything, even your toys. 1975 rolls around, Armageddon doesn't, and they just trust what the organization says, rebuild up their lives, and stay with it. Are your parents still witnesses? And I don't understand how, if you have like such a specific prophecy and it's failed, how do you stay? I don't know. Lisa, I'll definitely top you off on your coffee. Just put your mug through the camera and I'll pour. Okay. Melissa I don't know if you want me to say your name, but this is someone who Okay, this is really exciting. This is someone who was in my congregation growing up, who I haven't spoken to in years, who was actually one of the people that I feel guilty looking down on because she wasn't spiritually strong. And now she has this to say. After you left the hall, I was disfellowshipped and out for almost a year. Came back for my family. Actually, I used to date her brother. Huh. 2 years later, got disfellowshipped again, been out a year now, found the truth out. Melissa, I've been talking to Chanel, and we should definitely get together, the three of us, and have a dish, because that's three of us who grew up in the same congregation. Well, no, you grew up in a different congregation, right? And we're all out now. This is amazing. I'm so happy to hear. You just made my day. Wish we could have gotten to know each other better. I do too. And I really, really, really apologize for ever treating you like shit or not really talking to you or looking down on you, because you were always getting in trouble. uh, oh, that's awesome. Okay. Black Sheep is a 90s witness. Sorry, I'm having trouble refocusing now. That's kind of amazing. If you guys had someone contact you from the congregation you were in and be like, by the way, I'm awake now, would you be able to focus on something else? Okay. Dawn says, congrats and welcome to your freedom, Melissa. You'll love it when you get to my point of your 15-year apostiversary. 15 years. Wow. That's crazy. Will McAllister, the ability to contort your face in unusual ways. Are you still talking about Stephen Lett? Oh, it's Gurning. Gurning is making exaggerated facial expressions. Then Stephen Lett would be the king. Okay, Mr. KW. No. They just heard I don't go to meetings. That is all. So friends in the USA, Canada, and UK shun me. That's what's fun about being shunned. It's a worldwide event. Okay. A gurn or chuck in British English is a distorted facial expression and a verb to describe the action. The American English equivalent is making a face. Gurning. Chucking. Interesting. 18. How many people left around the age of 18? I was 20 when I left. But I feel like, when you start to get into, I don't know. I'm curious. Actually, maybe I'll make a poll in an ex-Jehovah's Witness group to see, at what age people actually left. Will McAllister says, I notice witnesses gurning when they see me in the supermarket or on the street as not been to the meeting for 2 years. I had someone who used to be my best friend when I was a witness duck behind a column in the grocery store. I actually saw him leap and it caught my eye and I turned and I was like, hey, how's it going? And then he just answered my question real quick and dry and ran away. But yeah, the gurning, I see that too. It's this face that they give. This is the face Jehovah's Witnesses give to us shunned ones. I'm good. You? Not even the you. I'm good. Thanks. Okay, bye. It's fear and discomfort all in one. It's great. Seems like the typical age to leave if you're born in. Yeah, that's what I'm thinking, when you start to get your own independence, hit adulthood, start to think about things more. Dawn, I'm challenged with adjusting to civilian life even now. So you're saying 15 years after leaving the Jehovah's Witnesses, you still have struggles with being a part of society? Because as a Jehovah's Witness, you're part of society, but you're not really supposed to be integrated into it. You still have challenges now? That's intense. Freaks me out a little bit. Paradise, I faded, but the result was shunning. I feel like it's getting to that point now more and more. I think as more and more people leave, they're making the faders get shunned too. I don't think that's going to last very long, this fading loophole. Okay, King of Faders, prove me wrong. I faded, but I'm not shunned. I think only because I wanted to be shunned. Okay. I'm not sure what that means, but that's good at least that you're not shunned. Okay, Will. I saw an elder in the supermarket the other day, and it was painful, especially when he nearly tripped over the Rice Krispies in his effort to avoid me. Yeah, they'll do lots to get away from us. It's great. I had someone from the hall I grew up in be my customer at a store where I was working. This is how the conversation went. Hey, how's it going? Good, whatever. She was super didn't want to talk to me, and then I was like, by the way, I just realized the other day I have one of your books. And she says, really? Which one? And I tell her, and she goes, that's not my book. And I said, well, you wrote your name in the front cover. And she's like, okay. And I was like, do you want me to give it to my mom to give it back to you? My mom doesn't talk to me. And she's like, she didn't even answer the question. I think she just paid for her stuff and left. So I'm definitely keeping that book, and it's a cool book. Yeah. Okay. Paradise Lost says, been out since mid-80s, but still hope mom wakes up. Likely she will stay a Jehovah's Witness. Has your dad been out too? Will says, the funny thing was when he did it, he actually farted loudly, and I think he must have IBS. What are you talking about, Will? Oh, the elder in the supermarket. You're saying an elder tripped over Rice Krispies and farted really loud at the same time? I don't believe your story. Okay, John Duville, that's a good question. Does anyone have an elderly family member still in that complains about being alive? Are you asking that because we're taught that Armageddon's coming any day? I'm like, I don't know if you guys heard this, but growing up you hear this stuff like, oh, you'll probably not even reach the age to have children. Oh, you probably won't even graduate high school. Oh, you probably won't even, like, get to this point, you know? Like, Armageddon's gonna be here way before that. I can't imagine hearing a lifetime of that and being, like, old and... Yeah, okay, I get what you mean. Okay. Dawn Elizabeth, they tried to come to my door once in a while. When they come to your door, is it elders? And if that's the case, they don't think you're an apostate, so that's cool. Because in the elders manual, they say that, like, they're supposed to come to your door once a year if you're disfellowship, shun, leaving, whatever. Unless they know you're an apostate, then they should just never come to your door again. Sorry, I spilled coffee before I got a little too enthusiastic. What's next? Lisa, you're answering the question about the elder family member complaining about being alive. You say, yes, my mother-in-law threatens suicide constantly. That could be, well, I don't know. I don't really know what to comment on that. John says, gets old after a while. I don't know what you're talking about. Gets old after a while, you mean living in this, on this earth while you're expecting paradise? Yeah. Stephen Let, the human turtle. Johnny Hellbow. Are you a Hellbow from Montreal? Because I know some Hellbows that are Jehovah's Witnesses. Huh. Very curious. Paradise Lost says, shunning is not healthy for them or us. Yeah, I did get reinstated twice. It's not healthy or natural to shun. Oh my goodness. Okay, more Stephen Lett. I don't think this is ever going to end. Okay. Regarding Stephen Lett, I had a stuttering problem for most of my adolescence. I totally wouldn't be surprised that he has some speech issues. I can totally see that in his face. Not saying he isn't a clown. But I think it makes more sense the person who said that he had deaf parents. I'm going to have to Google that when this video is done, because that would actually make a lot of sense. Children imitate what's around them, especially like if you get them before age 5. If from age 0 to 5 your biggest, like, your primary caretaker has exaggerated facial expressions because they're deaf, you would definitely pick up on that too. Definitely going to Google that. Okay. Will, I need to get one of your coffee mugs as the one I got is the size of a shot glass. Well, I don't know, man. It's pretty easy to get mugs. Just go to, like, you can get cheap mugs at the dollar store, or you can go to, like, a secondhand store and you get some real funky mugs there and you make a whole collection. This mug here, I think, was given to me. I don't know, I feel like it's not that difficult to find mugs that are larger than shot glasses. Because this is definitely an average size mug. It's not a huge mug. Okay, Gregory. About family. I obviously was never close to my extended family. A little closer now, but still a distance. My mom was abusive, so I've never really been attached to her. My father passed away. I'm losing track of the stories now. Well, whose stories, whose? And because I'm losing track of the stories, I can't really comment on that. Sorry, Gregory. Okay, Angry Ben. Think Granny video was the same year as Bunker video from Convention. That's what I was thinking about. It sounds like the Bunker videos where, like, Yeah, everything got really intense with that year. What year was that? That was 2 conventions ago? No, it was last year, wasn't it? No, I don't remember. Okay, Lisa says, the elders don't read the disassociation letters. As soon as they understand what letter it is, that's it. Well, yeah, of course. Can't have apostate material in their brains. Okay, John says, my mom is anemic. She's bleeding somewhere in her esophagus. So I teased her and said she should be disfellowship free eating blood. Got a good laugh out of her. That's hilarious. I mean, it's not hilarious that she's bleeding in her esophagus. That's really funny. Okay. Paradise Lost. For some reason, it takes a few minutes for you to read our comments. You are responding to our 3-minute old comments. Do you know why? It's because after I read a comment, I talk about it. And while I'm talking about it, you guys are making fresh comments down there. I don't want to miss any comments, and I'm liking the like back and forth conversation style, so I'm taking my time to really answer each one. But I also kind of like it that they're accumulating, but yeah. Okay, Dawn. I got encouragement from the elders to come back in a couple times. By then, I made up my mind to stay out. Cool. So I guess they don't think you're an apostate then if they're still bugging you. Okay. Will McAllister says, I think the new mindset of shunning and active witnesses isn't sitting right with a lot of the Borg. They seem to be suffering from overlapping emotions, and there is an inability with some to do joined up thinking. I see what you mean, but like I said before, I think like the governing body kind of plans for that, where it's like by having various reasons for shunning, you don't just shun for just one reason. I've counted 3 reasons. There might be more, but I think the 3 main reasons are like keep the conversation safe, keep the congregation safe, keep your own spirituality safe, and try to get the person back in by having them miss you enough, which is the emotional blackmail, And so you're talking about people like where it doesn't make sense to them logically to shun inactive witnesses. Well, you can still find reasons if they're inactive. They're clearly not spiritually strong, and so you want to protect yourself and protect the congregation. And so even if, I don't know, I think yeah. Bye, John. Thanks for joining the conversation. I think it was much harder the second time to get reinstated, says Dawn. That's what I'm thinking. I feel like they up it every time, and like they trust you less and less. Oh, Stacy, I always miss the beginning of these morning coffees. Yes, you do. But good morning to you. Good morning, Vampire Lauren. Good morning, Lee Tubular. Stacy says he does not have dementia, but he fakes it convincingly. We're still talking about Stephen Lett, folks. Aw, Lisa, that's so sad. I used to think that cartoons were just something we watched through other people's screen doors. Alright, I can't tell if you're joking or serious. Did you not watch cartoons other than Saturday mornings? Because I definitely watched cartoons as a kid. I loved cartoons. That's really funny, though. It's a funny way to put it. Okay. Okay, Evelyn, enjoy your cappuccino. Okay. Melissa says, it was Chanel that told me about your activism. We definitely have to all get together soon. Keep up the good work, hun. Cool. I'm gonna get her number from you in a bit because I really, really want to talk to you. That's awesome. Okay. Stacy, after GDPR, what's GDPR? Let me think about this for a second. GDPR. No, I don't want chat hidden. Unhide. Ah! I lost it. I don't know what I did. There's no undoing it. Okay, well, frankly, I'm getting a little fed up. I've been here almost an hour. I don't know what I just did. I pressed the button and I can't see the chat anymore, and it's not unhiding. And I've done that before, but it's easy to No, they're not visible. Why are you telling me they're visible? Anyway, yeah, so since I lost the chat and I have to pee and it's been almost an hour, I'm gonna cut this off here. Thanks for having morning coffee with me. Ugh. Enjoy your Saturday. I hope it's not raining where you are. It looks like it just stopped raining here. Uh, Thanks for talking, guys. It's a really interesting subject. I'm really disappointed that I lost the chat, but I'll check that out later. And yeah, it's Rebecca at Spoonfed No More, and this is so much fun doing morning coffee with you guys. I really, 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 really love it. It's great. And now we've just hit the 1 hour mark, so I'm gonna say bye bye. Have a good one.